This day in Philly sports history is proud to be a part of the Clashing Conferences Sports Fan Network, where passionate fans make powerful content. Check out theclashingconferences.com and join the squad today. What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly sports history for August 20th, 2026. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Thursday edition of the podcast. Let's get right into it. Hopefully, we don't have the technical difficulties we had yesterday. Your Phillies are red hot right now. 6 in a row, completed the sweep of the Marlins. Aaron Nola turning back the hands of time. Was absolutely solid. 7 innings, was just outstanding. The knuckle curve was working for him. And I think the thing I really took away from that, no walks for Aaron. So he was very efficient with that. But the offense continues to roll. They pounded out 10 hits and just they're fun. It looks like they're having fun. And again, we talked yesterday about the meeting, whatever it was, great. The fact that since Arise has been here, it seems like they're having fun and they're more loose. Listen, whatever is going to work, but they are now only 4 games back of the top wild card spot, but 4.5 back of the Braves, which is huge because there's 7 games coming up in early September against the Braves. So the division is not out of reach yet. So we'll see what happens. I would love to win another division, especially winning it this way, chasing down the Braves. We'll see how it goes, though. Is this Lucy with the football? Probably. I'm setting myself up greatly for this. But as I said yesterday, let's just go with it. Forget about this and forget about that. Let's not eagle-fy the rest of this season for the Phils, even though it's kind of now would be the time to eagle-fy it because it's a playoff race. Let's just enjoy it, have fun, and see where it ends up. But they are off today before opening up a 3-game set this weekend with the Cardinals. I'll be down there Saturday night. Looking forward to that before heading out west for the bane of my existence, West Coast baseball. But 6 in a row for your Phillies, and they have crept within 4.5 of the Braves. I like it. Starting to put some distance between them and the Padres as well, which is huge since they have the tiebreaker over the Padres. They did make a move signing Nestor Cortez to a major league contract. I don't know how ready he is to pitch. I don't know how much of an upgrade, where they're going to use him, but I do think it gives them some flexibility, especially since it looks like Sanchez and Wheeler are kind of going through their dead arm period. Maybe they go with a 6-man rotation. Maybe it's you tag team him or piggyback, whatever they call it, with Andrew Painter. It doesn't hurt to have a vet come in. Again, it's not somebody that's moving the needle greatly, but it's a veteran arm who could provide eat some innings anyway for this team. All right, the Eagles. And I guess this depends on what you watch. And I think, first of all, it's practice. It is practice. But the joint practices with the Patriots, A.J. Brown had a big day. Okay, you figured he would. He was going to come out, and that's just kind of the way he rolls. In the interview, he kind of downplayed it. I was disappointed that they weren't able to push him a little bit more, but it is what it is. It's kind of like looking at your ex and whatever. I guess the more concerning thing was, yes, it's A.J. Brown, but the secondary didn't necessarily look great. But again, we're basing this off of certain people looking at certain things and monitoring what clips or whatever get out there. I do put a lot of stock in it. I just don't know how much stock that we should put in what we see on social media, what we hear from the reporters. I want to hear Nick Sirianni speaking to the media this morning, so I want to hear what he has to say. But it does seem as though the Patriots won. Jalen apparently threw 3 interceptions. I did see a video of one of them. It was tipped. It also did appear one of A.J. Brown's catches from the video I saw. He didn't get 2 feet inbound, so it wasn't really a catch. There was some talk about the defensive line getting after Drake May, but because it was a practice, they weren't able to tackle him. So maybe that led to Drake May, who had a huge day too. There's only so much, again, without it being a game situation, that we can look at it. And I don't want this to come off like I'm wearing the green colored goggles and, oh no, the Eagles are the greatest team. Because some of these things are things that I've been talking about, Kyle and I have been talking about on the Brotherly Birds breakdown, that we're concerned about. Depth in the secondary. Where do those pieces fit? Obviously, the new offense. So, and those were the things. And again, I don't know how much we can put in that. I do want to hear what Nick Sirianni has to say. And they're back at it today. It'd be nice to see if maybe they make adjustments based on what they've done. Also, like, it's not game situations necessarily. A lot of it is actual practice scenarios. So maybe they're trying things out. I don't know. But there are some things that are a little bit concerning with that. But it's preseason. It's August 20th. First game is not until September 14th or 13th or 12th. I don't even know. 13th. So we have some time to figure this out. We'll see. But all that, they're back at it today. Kyle and I will be back at it tonight. Another Brotherly Birds breakdown. So we're recording later tonight. So that should be in your inbox when you wake up in the morning. Best way to stay in the loop is follow me on all social media at Philly Jimbo and subscribe to the YouTube channel at Philly Jimbo. But that does lead us into today's question of the day. What does it mean? We everybody said that the Patriots won yesterday's practice. What does it mean? 267-495-8531. That's the Back to the Future voice and text line. I think to me it doesn't really mean much because it's not because they've done this. That means this is going to happen during the season. There were some good moments too. Apparently Jalen had a couple nice deep balls. Quinyon did lock down AJ on one play. So again, it's what you make of it. And the truth of the matter is, as much as I'm not a big Drake May believer, Patriots were in the Super Bowl last year. So it's not like this is us getting dominated by the Cleveland Browns like last year. And I wouldn't say, none of the reports I saw said that the Patriots dominated the Eagles. A lot of people said Patriots won, but it was close. Whatever that means. And again, everybody has their own subjective way of scoring that, I guess, because it's not like they said you had this many points and you have this many points. So it is all subjective. But based on all that, that is the question of the day. What do you make of it? Again, this is more important for the players, I guess. But from a fan perspective, and I do want to shout out Eagles fans for showing up and showing out at the practice yesterday. Apparently they were lined up hours before the stadium even opened for this and started to take over Gillette Stadium. So Eagles fans are in midseason form. We just got to get the team now in midseason form. All right, and before I even say this, I'm going to catch myself because I was the one that was like, I'm sick of seeing here we go again with the Ben Simmons workout videos, this, that, and the other. But there was a workout video posted yesterday of Tyrese Maxey, LeBron, and Jaylen Brown. Man, this team is going to be fun. I know it's practice. I get all that, but they're putting in the work, and you love to see it. So this season is going to be fun. And I know I'm not making that big of a deal about it because I am the one that rips everybody for the Ben Simmons post. But this is different. Totally getting set up here, Lucy, with the football style. Union battled Messi and Inter Miami to a 2-2 draw last night. game ended with Cavan. It's either Cavan or Cavan. I've heard it pronounced both ways, but we'll go Cavan Sullivan getting a red card for getting into a brawl. You got to like the fight in this team. They're still undefeated since the World Cup break. And I like that fight because it's symbolic of what this team is doing right now. They're scratching, clawing their way back into the playoff race. And you got to love it. They're not going to get pushed around by Messi or anybody. Messi did score, but a 2-2 draw down at Subaru Park. It was a packed house, standing room only, but I like the fight. I like it, especially from the 16-year-old. Come on, guys. They are in Austin this weekend for their next game, but let's keep it rolling. They're scratching, clawing, fighting. You got to love it. All right. Yesterday's trivia question, we were talking about Jamie Moyer, which teams he played for. That would be the Cubs, Rangers, Cardinals, Orioles, Mariners, Phillies, Red Sox, and Rockies. Everybody forgets about the stint in the end of his career with the Red Sox and the Rockies. I mentioned my social media at Philly Jimbo. Subscribe to the YouTube channel at Philly Jimbo as well. Brotherly Birds breakdown tonight. Also, not sure timing and things like that. We're going to meet tonight, and then we're recording Saturday. But the Philly Hall will be back, so stay tuned for that. We're going to start gearing up for the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame induction ceremony, which is November 5th. Tickets are available. It's a stacked class. Looking forward to that as well. And then yesterday's question, I asked about what happens if Howie Roseman is unable to make those moves to number 2 in 2016 to draft Carson Wentz. A lot of people didn't really have much. They thought that Howie would have loaded up on draft picks and everything like that. Everybody thought I was nuts for thinking that the Eagles would have had a shot at Patrick Mahomes, when in reality, if you check the way the draft boards would have fallen, they would have been within striking distance. So it is what it is. But thanks to everybody who reached out, specifically those who called me crazy for even thinking about it. All right, it is Thursday. That means it's time for Throwback Thursday, brought to you by Philly Goat. Go to phillygoat.com. They got you covered for your Philly sports apparel needs. They got a t-shirt for everything. So go scroll through the site. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off your order. It's phillygoat.com. Promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off. And we mentioned this earlier in the week. This is the anniversary of the week that the Sixers traded for Bobby Jones back in 1978. And I think Bobby Jones is an interesting guy. Everybody's heard of him. His number's in the rafters down at the Xfinity Mobile Arena. But he's probably one of the most underrated and possibly underappreciated Hall of Famers in all of Philly sports lore. And going to educate you a little bit on Bobby Jones. And this was interesting just researching this yesterday because of a lot of the stuff I didn't realize and didn't know. But for a lot of people, my dad, my uncle's generation and around that age group, they love this guy. And he was an elite defender. He was a 6-time All-NBA defensive first team with the Sixers. Did the dirty things, the grimy things that that team needed. Nicknamed the Secretary of Defense. And I think the biggest thing with Bobby Jones is just his unselfishness. When he got here, he was a starter. And head coach Billy Cunningham said, look, I need you to come off the bench. And most stars in the NBA, most guys who start, they don't like that. They like to get their numbers and everything. But Bobby said, sure, anything to help the team win, and then embraced the role. Made a couple all-star teams as the first guy off the bench. And the Sixers do not win the 83 championship without the contribution of Bobby Jones. He won the first ever NBA Sixth Man of the Year. And like I said, really embraced it, was loved by his teammates. Darryl Dawkins, who gave a nickname to everything, called him White Lightning, said he was the baddest dude in the league. And he was. He was a tough guy, battled epilepsy throughout his career. And Dr. J called him his vice president when he was on the court. Just a great teammate, a guy who put the team above everything, even his own stats and accolades and everything like that, and just went in there and did what the job called for. I think this year's Sixers team, they'd be a good thing for a lot of them to study Bobby Jones's game and what he did for the team. If he needed to go out and score 20 points, he could do it. If he needed to go out and play lockdown defense and score 1 point, he would do it. But it's a couple good stories I found as I was doing the research. He's probably one of the most honest guys in the league. So much so that if you remember 80s NBA basketball, it got a little crazy, lots of fights, hard fouls, and things like that. So it was hard for the referees to kind of sometimes keep track. They didn't have replays. So the refs sometimes would ask Bobby Jones because he wouldn't lie. And it probably gave the Sixers an advantage at some point, but you got to like it when your guy is calling it like it is. But Bobby Jones, I think everybody gives credit to Moses Malone for putting the Sixers over the top, and rightfully so, in 1983. But I think a guy like Bobby Jones is the unsung hero. Came here as a starter, was asked to come off the bench, did it gracefully, and said, okay, whatever you need to win. And Billy Cunningham even talked about this and said, I did not bench him because he wasn't good enough to start. It was just that he was a team first guy, and the way his game translated, he was a winner, and he wanted that spark off the bench, especially if starters get off to a slow start. You bring a spark plug like Bobby Jones in, it's going to kickstart your team. And we mentioned this, but Billy Cunningham said he was a winner. He didn't care if he scored 1 point or 20. He had a common goal. How can I help the team win? And that, I think, I wanted to talk, like, it just fits in perfectly with the way this Sixers team this year is going to have to, a lot of these guys are going to have to check egos. Bobby Jones, 100% checked his ego. He is in the Hall of Fame. His number is retired, and he was a huge part of that. And it's probably a guy you didn't really know too much about. There is a story, too, where most guys come here and want to eat the cheesesteaks. He liked the red gravy down in South Philly, so much so that his wife banned him from eating it because she said, your breath stinks from the garlic. So there's Bobby Jones for Throwback Thursday, brought to you by Philly Goat. Go to phillygoat.com. Use that promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off your order. But Bobby Jones, I think, like I said, this team this year should take a page out of Bobby Jones's book. And if it takes you scoring 20 points, go score 20. If it takes you playing lockdown defense and scoring 2 points, then you do that. But Bobby Jones, I think, should serve as the model for this year's Sixers team. And that is Throwback Thursday. Turn heads and bring the hype with a custom hype chain from Lotwin. Perfect for youth sports, fantasy football, or just flexing your pride. Go to Lotwin.com, use the promo code TCCPOD for 10% off your order. That's Lotwin.com, promo code TCCPOD for 10% off. Get your custom hype chain and get hype with Lotwin. All right, August 20th. First, we're going to go back to 1961. And on this day in 1961, the Phillies played the Braves in a doubleheader out in Milwaukee. Game 1, Phils lose 5-2 to extend their modern Major League Baseball record losing streak to 23 games. They had no time to really sit and think about it because they had to get back on the field for Game 2. They turned to John Buzzhart to stop the bleeding, so to speak. They were clinging to a 3-2 lead into the 8th inning, where they erupted for 4 runs. They held on to win it 7-4. Buzzhart got the complete game to stop the streak. That 23-game losing streak, though, still stands today as the modern Major League Baseball record for consecutive losses for a team in a season. That included 17 losses on the road. And we talked yesterday about a terrible team. This team was also terrible. 47-107 was their final record. I guess if you lose 23 games in a row, you're going to lose a lot of games. But that leads us into today's trivia question. That was two that we've talked about so far. 100 lost seasons for the Phillies. How many do they have in their history? 267-495-8531. That's the Back to the Future voice and text line. Go to the Discord channel. The link is in the description or any of my social media. But how many 100 lost seasons do the Phillies have in their history? And I'll give you a hint. It's more than two. And I'll give you another hint. They have more 100 lost seasons than they have 100 win seasons. All right, fast forward to 1986. And on this day in 1986, Don Carmen had a perfect game before giving up a leadoff double in the bottom of the ninth to Bob Brenly out in San Francisco. Carmen ended up getting out of the jam, pitched a full 9 innings, striking out 9, but the game was scoreless heading into the 10th until Juan Samuel hit a 1-out solo shot off of Giant starter Mike Krukow. He pitched all 10 innings for the Giants that day. But Steve Bedrosian came in, saved it for the Phils. Phils win it 1-0. It was only the second 1-0 extra inning win in team history. I know there's been more since then, but hard to believe a team that had been around over 100 years at that point only had two 1-0 extra inning wins in team history. But Don Carmen was outstanding that day, almost getting a perfect game. Before giving up the double to Bob Brenly. And then 5 years later in 1991, Phillies and Pirates were at the Vet. They were trailing 5-4 in the bottom of the ninth with 2 outs when Dickie Thon hit a 2-run walk-off homer, gave the Phillies the 5-4 win. Dickie Thon comes up a lot for hitting clutch home runs for this team, by the way. But for the Phillies, it was their first 9th inning walk-off win in 346 games. Just kind of another one that's hard to believe they didn't have a 9th inning victory in 346 games. Didn't take long for the next one. Next night, they'd walk off the Pirates again. And then 2 nights later, they'd walk it off in the 10th inning. So a good stretch of walk-offs here for the Phillies. But it started with Dickie Thon hitting a 2-run homer in the bottom of the ninth with 2 outs for the Phillies to beat the Pirates 6-4 at the Vet. And then in 2020, Phillies were playing the Blue Jays in the good old COVID doubleheader games, 2 7-inning games. Blue Jays were not allowed to play in Canada, so the game was played in Buffalo. It was the first time the Phillies had played in Buffalo since 1885. Unfortunately for the Phillies, they'd lose both games 3-2 and 9-8 to the Blue Jays in Buffalo, because the Blue Jays were not allowed to play in Canada due to COVID restrictions. And then in 2023, Phillies and Nationals played in Williamsport, the Little League Classic. Players spent the day hanging out with the players, or the Major League players spent the day hanging out with the Little League players. That's when ESPN started doing the thing where they would ride on the bus together. The Little League players would interview them. Phillies were down 4-0 in this game, scored 3 runs in the top of the ninth. Jake Cave hit a 2-run homer, but the Phillies couldn't pull off the comeback, losing it 4-3. Phillies have not been good when they played in Williamsport, but it's still a cool experience and a fun thing to have. And that happened on this day in 2023. Phillies Blue Jays played in Buffalo. COVID doubleheader on this day. Phillies lose both games. First time they were in Buffalo since 1885. Dickie Thon with the walk-off 2-run homer on this day in 1991 against the Pirates. Don Carmen, perfect through 8 innings, pitches 9. Phillies win it 1-0 in 10 innings when Juan Samuel hits a solo shot in the 10th. And the Phillies extend their losing streak to 23 games and then snap it in Game 2 of a doubleheader in 1961 against the Braves. Don't forget about the trivia question. How many 100 lost seasons do our Philadelphia Phillies had? Not really something we want to celebrate, but there was a 15, 20-year stretch in the 30s and 40s where Phillies were just not a good team. Let me know your thoughts on Bobby Jones. I know some of the older guys out there listening and gals are going to love that one. But I think Bobby Jones should sort of set the example and set the tone for this year's Sixers team. I think unselfish, doing whatever it takes to win a championship. And again, Moses gets the credit, but I don't think they win that championship without Bobby Jones' contributions. We will update you tomorrow on the Eagles' day 2 of joint practices against the Patriots. Kyle and I will break it down even deeper tonight on the Brotherly Birds breakdown, so look for that tomorrow morning. Get you ready for the weekend. Of course, it's Fridays with AI. We've been doing a Phillies focus, so we're going to take a look at the 93 Phillies tomorrow, so stay tuned for that as well. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for August 20th, 2026. My name is Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a Thursday, and until next time, I'll see you when I see you.